Alright lads, welcome back to the InsideMC podcast, the part of the podcast where I talk to a special guest about themselves every single week. That's the brand new intro, and you're probably wondering, why Orbits? Why is that the brand new intro? Well, something that my guest doesn't know, who I'll introduce in a second, because we're recording this on the Monday to come out this same Friday. I know it's normally the Friday in advance. I'm playing catch up with podcasts. I mentioned this on the Birth of Darling one. But on Wednesday, 2 days before this podcast is coming out, I guess I have announced a brand new part of the podcast called Midweek MC. This is a podcast recorded every Wednesday and uploaded every Wednesday, starting recordings next week from when this podcast is being released, where I sit down with the co-host Captain AJX, who might not be there every single week, and talk about Minecraft in general, talk about things that happen in Minecraft that week, talk about a topic on Minecraft if nothing happened that week, or just talking about a general topic. So InsideMC has become an interviewing guest podcast where I talk to a different guest every single Friday, and then Midweek MC, which is going to be uploaded on the InsideMC channel, is talking about things in general. However, today, to carry on the streak of talking to a special guest, this is somebody who on Saturday, from when we're recording this 2 days ago, played in MCC Rising. They placed 16th individual. Their team came 6th. I got it. And let's just say they popped off in certain game modes. I'm joined with the very special and the top fragger of their team as far as I'm aware, Ginerous.
Hello.
How are you today, Jin?
Mate, I am good today. I'm really good today. I'm looking forward to actually being a part of this podcast. Obviously, again, thank you for inviting me to this podcast as well. Appreciate that.
No worries. I mean, you were like, I always wanted to bring you on because we're good friends. You know, we've won a tournament together, which we'll talk about a little bit, and all that kind of jazz. Whereas, obviously, getting into MCC Rising is a little bit mental, a little bit crazy, and it gives us something to talk about alongside the other stuff. So you were streaming today as well. You were playing your hardcore world, which was live for about 2 hours, I believe.
I was, yes. It was a hardcore world. So I've done a few hardcore worlds prior to this, but I've never really properly done hardcore Minecraft. Like, I've never really done it, so it's something brand new for me to go into. So the one I'm currently in now is like my fourth attempt at it, and I think this is the one that's like stuck, and it's the one that I'm doing. I'm quite comfortable, and I've got to a point now where like I feel like I've got to a point where I'm like, you know what, it's good enough. It's a good enough stage where I can actually make this like a long-term hardcore world instead of just like you go in, you gather a few materials, and surprise, a creeper blows up next to you or something like that, and the world's gone. I think something like this now, where I'm in now, is I'm quite comfortable where I am, and obviously me streaming it as well as obviously bringing new viewers in, and it's a great interaction between me and obviously the viewers as well, along with it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But it also means that like with today as well, you've warmed up your voice ready for the podcast.
100%. That's one thing that probably wouldn't be the best thing for me to get out of bed and jump straight into this. Your voice would be all over the show.
So you had a little break, had dinner. I had dinner as well in the meantime. So
yeah, you get a bit of dinner, a bit of a chill, have a bit of a drink, and then just chill and relax the rest of the day. So I've had time to prepare myself for this today.
But other than the hardcore thing, also that like transition right there just made no sense. Like the way I've said that compared to what you've just said, it sounds like there's a massive cut. There's not. It's just I don't know why it sounds like there's a cut there, but there's not. But other than the hardcore that you've done, etc., I always like to give the intro for my guests to introduce themselves, because I can say who you are, I can say what you do, but that's from my perspective. So I want to hear it from you. Sell yourself to the viewers, Ginerous. Tell us who you are, what you do, all that kind of jazz.
Oh god, okay, right. I'll try and tell myself to be the best here. So obviously my name's Ginerous. Obviously I've been playing Minecraft God knows how long, forever. I only really got into Java properly in the past like 2-3 years, but I'm solely focused. I'm a speedrunner, I'm a builder, and people know me for talking incredibly fast usually, so I try to calm myself down a little bit when I can. But yeah, so I'm basically I'm a builder, I'm a speedrunner. I think my best speedrun time I've got so far is 23:35, which again is not like all of the
random
pros who get
seed
like
as well. Random seed.
Yeah, on an SSG, completely random seed. But yeah, it's like I'm not up there with like the likes of like Dream and all them, like those bigger ones who can probably do it extremely fast.
Well,
I'm nothing like
someone
that.
on the podcast the other week, Fulham, who's a Minecraft speedrunner. So
Did he get a really good time? Did he?
Yeah, he has a really good time. He's quite decent. He's decent at speedrunning. Yeah.
To be fair, that's good because obviously I tried my best and all. I try to do my best on the speedruns because obviously that's the whole point of it. It's called a speed run, but But don't get me wrong, there's points where when you do it and then you just realise, okay, I could have done that better, I could have done that better, and then that would probably save a little bit, like a bit of time there, 10 seconds there, 20 seconds there. So there's like little things that like you obviously when you watch it back, you know you could have done better. But yeah, speedrun's one of my things. Building's also probably one of my things, one of my strong points. And I don't mind the odd bit of PvP here and there. I wouldn't say I'm like the ridiculous PvP players out there, but I can somewhat hold my ground in certain aspects. But like me with a bow is like deadly. That's my thing. I'm a bow person.
Yeah, I am as well. I mean, you proved that in one of the games. So if you will get into talking about, because I like to kind of organize stuff because it's easier for the highlights as well. Organize stuff into certain segments so people don't get too confused. But yeah, I know you're quite good with a bow, Ginerous. I've seen it firsthand.
Oh, that's my speciality. I think that and comms and communication and organisation is probably my strong point along with it, which becomes beneficial in as we're going to probably talk about in a bit
about Rising, yeah.
About Rising, yeah, and about all that kind of stuff. So it comes very, very handy, and especially playing like other games apart from Minecraft, it helps out. Like it could be like you playing like a game like Valorant or whatever it is, like like when to push and when not to push and stuff like that will help in PvP based games because it's just a bit of like that communication here and there and telling your teammates, okay, I need you here, I need you over there now, and so on. So stuff like that obviously helps out big time. So just playing solely just Minecraft, playing other games helps.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty sick. You've sold yourself pretty well there, Jin. I'm sure people are very interested and very ready for this podcast to begin now that they know who you are. And I guess more so the fact that the title is probably going to be something along the lines of the MCC Rising experience. But before we get into talking about MCC Rising, let's talk a little bit about you, Jin. All right?
Okay.
So outside of that, I know you've just done the whole introduction, but I mean, I have questions for you about yourself, Ginerous.
Yes, okay.
So, the first one, and it's one I ask everybody. Like I said, I kind of have the same format, give or take, on what I talk to people about. And the first one is, where did the name Ginerous come from? Why Ginerous?
Okay, so this is kind of a funny story. So, this name actually basically comes from two parts. So, the actual name originally it was the first part, obviously, if you imagine it just the word generous. So obviously, if you guys get into the first A out of that, and obviously you replace it with the I, that's where the whole name comes from. So the first word is generous. So that word actually came from me and my buddies in high school. So there was, I think there's about 10 of us, and obviously every day or every other day, we would go from our school and go to like a local corner shop and go and buy like a few like crisp sweets, whatever you would when you in like the year 7 or 8 in high school when you first started. Obviously we'd go there and we'd go and buy all like the sweets, but most of my friends didn't have like a lot of money, and obviously because at that point I essentially had a paper round, so obviously I was making some money from that, and it was something that just like would keep my income going. So but I'd had like a few of them that would ask me, it's like, could I borrow like 50p or could I borrow just like 20p to go and buy a packet of crisps or something or whatever it was, and I'd say, you know what, okay, yeah, I'll give you that 50p. So I'll get the 50p, I would obviously give it to them, and they'd obviously finish off paying for whatever like their item was. So that's where like that generous side came from, because I was known for being quite generous and obviously giving out to people. And then the other side, where the Ginerous came from, was more because I'm ginger. Like, that's my hair colour.
Yeah.
So obviously, I was like, do you know what? Why don't I just do it? So, because obviously I was being very generous to my friends, I was like, why don't you use that along with my hair colour? And then for some reason, like, one of my friends just said, why don't you come put yourself Ginerous? And I was like, you know what? I actually don't mind that name, to be fair. Because obviously my old name wasn't, my old usernames weren't that great. So obviously, and I thought, you know what? This one could stick now. And I was quite happy with that. So that's obviously where the original name came from, which was me from being generous and obviously my hair colour being ginger.
Yeah, I mean that's actually pretty basic. So when did you have the name Ginerous? How long has that been around for?
No, that's been around now, since about 2016, 2017, around there.
So when did it become your... Oh, sorry, Karen, my bad.
No, it was only about 6 years ago. It wasn't too long ago.
So when did it become your content creation name? Like, when did you kind of start getting into making content?
So I had my channel, the Ginerous channel, in 2019, 2018, around there. It was around New Year period, I think I had it. So I had it around there, and then obviously I started originally just creating like SMP content and the odd tutorial here and there, which you don't ever want to go back and watch my old tutorial videos. They're horrendous. Like, they're bad. Like, so I think it even got to the point where some of them are just like not, no one can view them anymore. They're private because they're awful.
Wait, these what videos were these? Sorry.
No, well, we're never talking about that. We're never talking about back then.
Were they Minecraft or were they not Minecraft?
No, they were Minecraft videos, but they were like
Just not that
very,
good.
very poor content Minecraft. So it wasn't something like that. You'd click on it, you'd watch about 10 seconds, and then click off right away. It was bad. Even I was ashamed to do them. But yeah, it was the channel's been around for about 6 years now. But I originally started doing the actual main channel about 2019 because I'd done a few before it. So I'd done the one which was Ginerous Gaming. So
Okay.
that was obviously, it was basically the exact same as this one, but I just rebranded it because back then I was most of my mates now are like, they're much older, like they're like 24, 25, same age as me now. But it's back then I would get skated for doing this like kind of content, like doing YouTube kind of stuff. So obviously I never really wanted to tell any of my friends about it because I knew as soon as I told like one of them, it would spread like wildfire and they'd all hear about it.
Yeah.
And obviously then before you know it, you're getting when you're playing like, let's say football with your friends or whatever it is, you'd get like a bit the odd like, oh look over there, that's Ginerous Gaming, and obviously I'm a little scared, and I felt nervous doing that. I didn't really want to do it. So that's when I actually made Ginerous itself, and I didn't tell anyone about it for like a year or so, and I finally had the courage. I was like, I've got about 700-800 people at this point for like subs, and then I said, what, I'll tell one of your mates about it and just tell them to keep it a secret and like just keep it below. And obviously then when I get to about 1,000, I told like another person, and gradually and slowly I felt more comfortable doing it. And just adding a few extra people into like my friend group knowing about it, and then before you know it, all my friend group were like, yeah, we're not bothered, you can just do what you want. So obviously we're not going to skate you for it. That's, if you want to try and do this and make this as a full-time job, then go for it and try it, because obviously it's the opportunity to do it. So
That's fair enough. And then it's not full time though, is it? Because you do work.
yeah, this is nowhere near full-time. Like this
One
is
day.
hopefully, fingers crossed, one day I can make this my full-time job and go about it. But obviously right now I do football coaching. That's like my job. So obviously I'll go into the prime schools around. Obviously in my section there's about 5 or 6 I do, and I teach footy and do football. But we do it for the whole of midweek. So we do Monday to Friday, and then Saturday I basically run a football group. But obviously, I work for a football club. I'm one of their staff members there. But on the Saturdays, I basically run like a group where like all the kids that haven't got like a team and they're in a team, I run that team, and I help like try and get them into teams essentially. So I kind of like take all the ones that haven't got a team, teach them up a little bit, and then send them off into a team or create a new one if there's enough. That's like my full-time job essentially.
And then Sundays you have chill, right?
So Sundays, I actually don't, to be fair. Sundays, I actually work 7 days a week usually. But Sundays, I basically go down and help set up like a football like day it's like 4 hours roughly. It's from like 8 in the morning till 12. But it's helping like just pull up a few football nets and let them play the matches and take the football nets back down again. It's just that easy.
That's nice though, that's sweet.
It's not too bad, but it's only recently just changed because we've got 2 staff members on now. It's me and somebody else. But so I think what we're going to do is we're going to alternating weekends like on Sundays. So I might do this Sunday, but then next Sunday I might have off because he's doing it, and then we just alternate round to just take turns. We get the odd weekend off.
Oh, trip. Maybe you actually do have more to like talk about than I realised here, Ginerous.
There's a lot of stuff you don't see. It's like all the backstory stuff. I just like,
That's why
I don't really talk about.
That's why I love the podcast.
Honestly, it's probably actually the best thing about it as well. Is like you can just like openly talk about it. And obviously, if people hear about it, yeah, fair enough, people hear about it. And to be fair, but most people probably aren't that bothered anyway about what goes on, like, other people's lives. Like, don't get me wrong, because, like, people, like, when you get, like, obviously bigger into like, YouTube and stuff, people want to, like, realise, okay, I want to know what goes in their life 24/7, which, and obviously then they don't see some sides of it, which, like, the bigger people like to keep kind of quiet and keep out of the way, because obviously they don't want it to be public or anything, or, like, keep it all private themselves. And to be fair, like, all of this kind of stuff here is, like, just, like, stuff that I keep private. I don't really talk about it, to be fair, so I'm quite happy to be able to talk about it on this.
Yeah, I mean, even then, like, you can talk about it on stream and stuff like that, but a podcast is kind of all in one place. I mean, I made a tweet earlier that, like, I just find it so cool that every single week I can speak to a different person. Like on Wednesday, because I'm still playing catch up with podcast, I'm talking to Anfos.
Oh, nice.
I just in case you didn't hear right, Anfos, not Antfrost. He's on different. They run a Twitter account called like One Block Every Day. But it's just cool, like, talking to different people about different things, and I ask kind of relatively the same questions anyways, so you kind of get to hear different people's like you know, I was saying it to myself, like Ginerous is such an interesting, like, what goes through your head to come up with Ginerous, but then when you explain it, it's like, that's actually kind of cool. That's kind of cool how that came to be. So like, just in like that kind of idea. But yeah, so back to the content idea of things and moving away from the work. Very cool, don't get me wrong. I just, don't really... I like to talk about topics where I have questions. I don't really have questions. I don't really want to ask like stuff about why did you become a football coach, all this kind of stuff, because it just gets a bit too personal and I don't like to go too into the personal things unless it's been agreed on. Unless the podcast is about personal stuff, which I might have some in the future, who knows. This is nothing planned, nothing hint or anything, I'm just saying. But like with this, it wasn't really planned to be a personal podcast. I don't really get too into depth, Soon I'll be asking where you live and I don't want to be doing that, Jin. So so back to content. So when did you start making Minecraft content, when the content was like not just like public per se, but when you like were fully confident with it? Because looking through your channel now, your videos date back 4 years ago, your first one being Hypixel Build Battle with GGMC.
Oh yeah.
So like it dates back quite fast. So was that when you became quite confident with content, or was there still a few before that? Because I have a few videos in the past that I was confident when I was with content, but they've just since been deleted because I didn't want them on my channel anymore.
Yeah, so I actually went through a few phases where I was like, for 2-3 months, I was dead confident with like doing content, and I was like, you know what, let's do this video. I'm happy doing this video. I'm happy to publish it. I'm quite confident with that, and I like do somewhat okay. But then there'll be phases where I'd go through it and be like, do you know what? No, I'm not happy with that content, and then I'll do this video. No, I'm not happy with that. So there'll be like I said, like the likes of videos going all the way back then, where I was quite happy doing it at the time. But obviously, when you look at it in the future now, where I was like in the present, and you look back at it, you're like, maybe that's not actually a good video, but at the time, in the moment, I was quite happy with that. But don't get me wrong, obviously I think that's just how like YouTube works. Like the content just gets better and better and better over time. And obviously when you look back at the old videos, you realise, okay, maybe they weren't as good back then as what they could be now. But yeah, back then I was happy at the time. But nowadays it's just like, maybe I can do better content than that nowadays in the space of 20 minutes instead of like a 10-minute video back then.
Because yeah, like I mean, your more recent videos are more about like the alpha craft. You uploaded some MCBC stuff. Tried prime hydration for the first time. I mean, like you took a big break. You took a big break from 8 months to 2 months ago when you got back into content. And in all honesty, I'm gonna be real. Until you mentioned on stream earlier, I didn't actually know you had a YouTube channel, Ginerous. I just thought you was a streamer. You have 5.7k on YouTube, and I had no bloody clue.
Do you know what? It's like, I know most people obviously don't really, because as I was saying, some people actually only know me from Twitch and from doing, like, saying, like tournaments like MCBC, or if it's like MCC and Minecraft Rising, or if it's like any other content like that. Some people find me, as I was saying, from like other streamers when they come in and raids and so on, and they just see me through that, but they never ever see like that type of content over on like YouTube, for example. So it's obviously try to like promote everything, like trying to put like your Twitter, your Twitch, whatever it is, your YouTube is like somewhat kind of important to try and get people out there to recognise you. But yeah, I did take a big break. You are right. I did take a big break for 8 months, and it was just like I just went through a phase where I was like, at this point, I just got so much going on that I just haven't got the time to sit down and get my mind into recording and doing it. Whereas now I've had a little bit of a break, and I've realised, you know what, I actually want to stick at this now, and I want to do it because obviously recently I went on a holiday. You see, I went on a holiday to like Lanzarote, which was like, don't get me wrong, it was dead hot. But it was for a day or two, I was just thinking about it in my head. And I was like on the sun lounge, I was just thinking in my head. It's like, do you know what? I want to sit down and I want to set goals for this year. I want to try and tackle them goals. Like, because don't get me wrong, I'm not a very big built-up person in real life. I want to make myself bigger and make myself like more muscular than that. Like, for example, I want to do obviously more content on YouTube. I want to do more Twitch streams. I want to actually start trying to like get basically get shit done. I want to try and do stuff. But it's just like, I've had that mindset now where I'm like, okay, I want to sit down, I want to do content grind, and I actually want to get a few videos out. Because I was saying, going back to before about the 8 months, there was one point in my content career that I think it was 2021, I think it was, where I was doing a video every single day for a month. And that alone smashed my views up, smashed my subs up. And I was like, why am I not doing that now? Because I could be doing that now and getting my views and get my subs up and build my channel more, which is what that's like. And obviously you're not going to become this successful person on YouTube. Like, hopefully someday it happens, but the likelihood is it's very, very, very slim because so many people do it. But you're not going to get that done until you put the effort in and put like the stuff you need to put into it. and you earn that followership. Because don't get me wrong, it's not something you're going to grab straight away. You can't just become a YouTuber straight away. You've got to earn it, and you've got to earn like your viewers, your followers, your people that are going to support you. You've got to earn all that. But yeah, back to recently. So it's like recently I've just like been in my mind, so it's like, you know what, I want to get this done now. I actually want to start doing content, either uploading like once every day or once every 2 days, and getting something out there for people to watch so they can enjoy it. And obviously if I keep sticking at it, let's say I do it once every 2 days, you're looking at 150 plus videos a year, and that's like upping it a little bit, and obviously people are going to be engaged, people are going to be watching it, and obviously before you know it, it'll bring more people in, it'll bring fresh people in that you have never seen before, and maybe they'll pass a message on to the friend saying, okay, you know what, let's go and check this guy out, and then it'll bring more people in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with like main channel content, I'm kind of falling off of it. I don't really want to do the main channel anymore. I mean, I said it on the stream the other day, and I think I made a tweet earlier. My tweet earlier read, the InsideMC podcast is the best decision I've ever made regarding content creation. It's the only reason I still make content, and I get to speak to a different amazing person every week. How could I ever complain? And it's true, like, if I think if I didn't have the podcast account, I wouldn't be, I don't know, maybe I'd still be streaming, but I wouldn't really be that motivated to. I don't really want to upload on my main channel anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. So the podcast is definitely what's keeping me in this community, in this scene. And I mean, it's getting more people to know me as well. Like, I've very much become the podcast guy, which isn't a bad thing at all. I'm very happy with that. But that's like where my kind of lack of motivation came from. When you said like, oh, you know, why can't you be uploading like a day every day like you used to be? I used to upload quite a lot as well, like every 3 days, and I was getting like 30-40k views a video, but it's just something I don't really want to do anymore, you know? So
yeah, I mean, like, are you happy? Like, this is just obviously, somebody's like, I'm asking the question here, but are you happy doing your podcast? Like, and are you happy doing this?
Oh man, I love the podcast, man. I don't shut up about it, bro. I went out for lunch earlier with my girlfriend, and I think like 50% of the dinner, 50% of the lunch, I was just talking about the podcast. Like, I'm so passionate about it. Like, I love the podcast so much. So yes, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, with the podcast, it is the most passionate I've ever. I mean, I felt like 3 years ago when I did command block tutorials, I felt quite passionate about them. But that's also because I knew every single one was going to do quite well for views. Whereas the podcast doesn't do amazing for views, but I'm so passionate. But I love it so much. Like, I do. I really do. And I've got some really cool guest plans, some cool stuff planned, like I mentioned in the intro. So
honestly, that's great, because obviously, as long as you're happy doing something and you're happy with the content you're producing, that's the best thing you do. Because what you don't want to do is do something that you're not happy with, and you realise, why am I actually doing this? I'm not happy doing it, and I'm uploading it for the sake of it. Why am I doing it? But I'm just saying, if you're dead happy doing the podcast itself, and that's like your thing. And as you're saying, like, you're known for being that podcast guy, which is good, because you're getting yourself out there being that podcast guy and being known for him, instead of just saying doing like just a video for the sake of it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, one more thing then, and then we'll get into talking about Rising, because we have been recording for 25 minutes already, which has actually been quite quick. And there is a lot more that I want to ask about you, but I do want to kind of stick to the topic of MCC Rising, Ginerous.
100%.
So the last question is, before we move into that, is the hat. Why is the hat a part of your branding?
So, originally, obviously, you can tell the hat on the branding which was GGMC. So obviously, that originally stood for Ginerous Gaming Minecraft Content.
Okay.
So obviously that's when when I didn't tell most of my friends that I actually stood for that. I told it actually stood for Ginerous Gaming multiplayer content, because I was mainly going to do multiplayer stuff. But
okay.
that was more, the hat was more of a trial run for a merchandise to see if it would do well, which at that point it didn't do well, which I stopped it, because obviously I think it was only about 4 people that actually bought anything from it. But I was like, I need a bigger audience really to start doing anything like that. Yeah. And I need people to be like more people that was going to support me, follow me, and so on, to put anything like that up. But the hat alone was a try run of a merchandise. I've got a t-shirt. I had a notebook and a sticker of all that, so I actually did like an unboxing of it, of all my new stuff that came in, to be fair. But yeah, the hat is like an old merchandise thing, but I still wear it because it's still got the word Ginerous in it. It's still like the first G is me, it still like relates to me, but obviously the other, like the GMC, doesn't really matter anymore. That's like non-existent. But I do plan originally, I do plan at some point putting out some new merchandise, or just literally just a G alone, or like just the word Ginerous on its own. But I think now I'm happy, as I said before, the logo. I'm happy with like this, the word Ginerous as itself, and I'm happy with the brands of it, the logo of it, and I wouldn't change it for anything at the minute. I'm quite happy the way it is. But yeah, that's where the hat came from. It was just like an old merchandise thing.
Well, there we go. Fair enough. Okay, Ginerous, let's get into talking about MCC Rising then.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to rush that intro of yours. I mean, I know, like, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot more to talk about, like, with, like, I guess, Shieldcraft UHC and all this kind of stuff, and how you start making Minecraft content. But, I mean, maybe, who knows, maybe that could be something in the future. But today, we're going to be talking about MCC Rising. So, Ginerous, MCC Rising. What the heck, man? What the heck? Your application video
my
was
lord.
so good. The Dumb Ways to Die in MCC Rising, or MCC in general. Such a smart application video. So we're going to start with that. What was the thinking? But I mean, obviously I know the idea, but I mean, what was the thinking behind coming up with the idea?
So the actual idea is I had zero. I mean, there's now zero input in the idea. This was actually all down to Richard Thornton and Marky Sparky. It was them two because they're the two people in our thing that are like the musical people in our group.
Yeah.
So they originally thought of the idea. I actually only got roped into it because I was in our Alphacraft Discord, which was like obviously Richard put on the channel saying, you know what, okay, let's I want to apply for this. And originally I was like, I can do it, but obviously if someone else wants to do it, they could take over me. And then I think it was Bunny Bond who said to me, it's like, listen, Jim would be good at this. And I said, you know what the heck, I'll put myself into it. So I did. But then obviously Richard, me, Marky and Indy all made a Discord between the four of us. And what we said is Richard and Marky both said, you know what, let's do a Dumb Ways to Die, but just remake it into an MCC version. So it's like when they like get smashed by a moving wall, miss a parkour jump and take a fall. Like it was just like little lines like that.
Easy to remember lines.
Very, very easy to remember lines. The actual recording itself for the video, we did in about an hour and a half at absolute most.
Okay.
So Richard built the piano and the drum set in the video. They were in his like original designs. I think the creator of them two were in his description of actually how to build them, so you can actually just build them in your own world.
Oh, cool.
If you want to. But yeah, he brought us in because we've done it. So obviously time zones for us is all over the show because I've got Marky who's German, Richard who's Australian, and Indy's over in America, and obviously I'm in the UK.
Yeah.
So time zones is all over the show for all of us. So I think Richard got up at 4 o'clock in the morning his time, which was 8 p.m. my time and 9 p.m. for Marky to get up and do it. But Indy couldn't do it because he was in work at that point. So that's why when you see in the video, it was a video message from him, which we got him to do a video message, like a recording thing, just so we can put it on the screen in the background because he couldn't make that time.
Yeah.
But in the space of the hour, I think Marky just said to me, listen, we've made the lyrics here for this video, me and Richard, because obviously them two musical people, they've been the lyrics. Said, listen, Jim, can you just say these lines here, this blah 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 blah, and then what we'll do is we'll add that into the actual audio track. And then obviously that's when the full song, well, not the full song, the part of like the video, obviously when he sings the song towards the end of it, is like, I think Marky goes, oh, that's bad, and I go, oh yeah, that's really bad. And that's my only line. It's like, oh, that's really bad. But we're gonna do a full version of the song, you see, which obviously I'm assuming I'll probably have a lot more lyrics and lines to say in it. But we'll do but we're gonna do the whole song, the whole new version of the song based on what's just happened with obviously Rising and like all the deaths we had, like the silly things that we could have done so much better, which we didn't do.
Oh, okay. I mean, is that something that's been said publicly, or is that a podcast exclusive right now?
No, that's it. I think that was actually put out I think it was about 4 days before we actually got announced that we were in Rising. And I think it was Richard who put it out there saying, well, if we do make this in, we're going to do a full song for this. And obviously we got emailed, or I didn't get emailed, sorry, Richard got emailed saying, unfortunately, you've not been selected as one of the top 10 teams in the application, but you have been selected as a sub team.
Okay.
Obviously.
Oh yeah, sorry, Carry on.
No, go on, go for it.
Go what you was gonna say. Carry on with what you were saying.
So we actually got messaged in a Discord. So we got added into a Discord with Avondale and a few of the other people, like the not 3 people. And obviously he put a message in saying this is a bit of sweetness. Like let me
Okay, I guess while you look, this was soon. Okay, so you kind of jumped into it already, which is great. I haven't had to ask the question, but so now we've gone from talking about the application video and how that was all that kind of idea. Now we are talking about getting into Rising. However, getting into Rising as being a sub team, just so anyone who's listening can catch up, because Ginerous is very good at answering questions before I ask him, which isn't a bad thing at all. It's great. But just so the viewers can catch up a little bit. So yeah, we've now moved into talking about Ginerous and the sub thing. So yeah, how How did that feel, Ginerous? Before you continue, how did it feel getting the email, knowing that you could have got in and you technically did, but putting aside that you pretending you didn't get subbed in at this point, because obviously you didn't know you were going to be subbed in at this point. You just knew you were a sub. How did you and your team feel knowing that your application was good enough to be in the event, but not good enough? Oh, I guess not that it wasn't good enough, but just not part of the top 10 teams.
So we were all like a bit like, I wouldn't say downhearted. We were a bit like
Gutted.
With it gutted. That was the word. Yeah, we could have been a bit gutted that we didn't actually make it. But then when we actually read like, the email that was sent to us, we were like, so it says obviously originally said it was obviously unfortunately you've not been made it in, and we were like, oh, you know what, this is a bit annoying. But when we found out you've been nominated as a sub team, we were like, there's actually like kind of a bit of hope that we might get in. Because obviously, I just saying that the way the Horizon works, obviously, and the thing is how anything works is if one person obviously can't make it, the whole team drops out. So that you can't just replace the one player for one player if the whole team goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the way it was. Obviously, I won't talk about obviously the way.
Yeah, we won't talk about what happened. We don't,
exactly.
Yeah, we'll just talk about the fact that team couldn't play anymore, sadly, and then your team got subbed in because of it.
So yeah, we actually got we didn't get emails. We got a Discord notification by Avondale, and this was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon BST, around my time. So we got in the Discord thing, a message off them like, it was like it was an axolotl message saying, listen, we've had an issue here. So one of the teams obviously has dropped out, but you're now the new axolotls. You're now the new team for that. Obviously, at this point, Richard obviously was in bed, Indy was in work, Marky was online, but he was in work himself, and I was the only person actually on my PC at the desk. I wasn't doing anything. He said, could you be in a call in 10 to 15 minutes? And I went, you know what? Yeah, I can. But I don't know about the rest of them. So I jumped in a call with Avondale, and he explained to me saying, listen, congrats, you are now the new axolotls. And I was like, oh my god, this is actually happening. We're in now. Like it's nuts. I thought obviously because we got invited to be in the event as well, and you can say, listen, even if we didn't make it in, you were allowed to come in and watch, and just watch from like a spectator point of view in the actual event itself. But when we found out we were going to be one of the teams, it was nuts because I was just dead happy. Like on my face, you'll be able to see it, but my face was just dead happy at the moment. Marky found out obviously after he left work. Richard woke up because he actually got up 2 in the morning his time, expecting to be announced as a sub team on Twitter, but let alone he woke up to find out that he was actually being announced as one of the teams in it. And he was going mental. He was like, this is probably the best morning I've ever woke up to. I was like, I'm so glad I stayed up till 2 a.m. to listen and to find this information.
Yeah.
So he was amazed by it, and I was just purely in shock about it myself as well.
So yeah, you went from gutted obviously being the thing. I mean, as a sub, the sub teams were allowed on a practice server and everything, so you would have still got the same build up just without being in the actual event. But then getting subbed in, crazy, happy. Once again, very sad for the other team.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially because members on that team were friends of mine. So this isn't anything against you, but I remember when I found out they were being subbed out, right? Because I knew, like, I didn't know. I just had a feeling because I knew everything that was going on. Part of me was in my head, like, I was like, please, because I knew I wasn't a sub. I was like, please don't be somebody that I know, and not because I don't want somebody that I know to be in the event. Because I very much wanted somebody I knew to be in the event. But I was like, I know these people. These people are very cool with me, and I'm very happy they're in the event. So please don't be somebody else I know who gets into the event. And then I see you get announced, and I was like, I'm so fucking happy. But I'm like, oh shit, like, what am I meant to do now? Because, like, someone I know has just been subbed in, and especially, like, you're a good friend of mine, I'd like to say. I know it's very hard to kind of say friends, but we've won an MCBC together, Ginerous, which I guess we'll touch on that a little bit quickly now with MCBC. Not talk about the event and stuff like that. I don't want to speak about how you got into MCBC and stuff. There's no need for that. But, like, we've won that event together. I actually played MCBC yesterday, and it is the first time that I've played an MCBC which I haven't won, in which my team didn't come dead last. We came second last. So breaking boundaries. But yeah, so you went from winning MCBC back to back to playing in MCC Rising, which is crazy as well. But so because of that, obviously I was really happy that you got in. I was like, yes. As soon as you got announced, you went live. I joined a voice call with you. Was playing some Island together, which was really sick.
Yeah, I think it was about literally 2 minutes. It got live. It went live at 5. Oh no, sorry, it went live at 6 o'clock. I think at 6:02, you messaged me saying, like, holy shit, you're in it. Like, oh my god.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I'm so happy for you.
I messaged you like instantly. I was like, oh my god, Ginerous, you've done it. I can't believe it.
which was very, very surreal, because like obviously it wasn't just you, there was like loads of other people that messaged me at the same time. I was like, this is actually happening. It's like my Twitter was blowing up the whole day, like everything was going crazy. Like I actually it got to a point where I actually had to put my phone on charge because it was running out of battery, because it was like going ping 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 ping, and I was like, okay, I've got to like put it on charge and just leave it over there, because Avondale did say to me, he said, listen, it's gonna get crazy, like you're anything like that, just literally put it to one side, ignore it, come back to it later on when it's died down a bit, because the first 2 hours are going to be nuts.
Yeah, and then they were. I mean, I contributed to it by replying to the bloody tweet. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you guys got subbed in before you was even announced as a sub team, and I guess because there was 3 sub teams as well, you were quite lucky that your team was chosen.
Yeah, so it was a obviously we were made up that we got chosen as well, but yeah, we got like, after we got told we was a sub team. We were allowed to, we weren't allowed to tell anybody, because obviously we got told you're not allowed to tell a single soul until people start getting announced and you get announced as a sub team, which obviously we stuck by, because obviously we did practice stream we did like a practice event like between the 4 of us, and just went on MCCI and went on there and just practiced. But obviously even when we were still training, we weren't allowed to tell anyone that we were a sub team. We had to keep it as a secret, and that's obviously something that you got to like obviously abide by.
Yeah, which
But then
makes sense, 100%.
Which 100% makes sense. Like you got to like keep it a secret, not to anyone. But yeah, once obviously we got announced. We obviously once got announced as an actual team, not a sub team. I think we were allowed to then just go around and tell anybody we wanted. And obviously, if anyone wanted to know anything about it, we were allowed to tell them that and explain stuff to them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not going to ask you the ins and outs of anything that happened in Discord and stuff, obviously, because that'd be, I don't know, I don't want to get you in trouble. Plus, I just feel like that probably is something that wouldn't be allowed to be said. It's like the ins and outs of everything. So I'm just asking you the basic stuff of getting accepted. But you got an email. They didn't announce this time that they were reaching out to creators, which I will say I didn't really like too much. I would have much preferred if they'd like announced that they were reaching out, because it mean a lot of other people put our plans on hold.
Yeah, a lot of people did, didn't they? It's a bit of a bummer in that aspect, but I get like they've got a way of going about it, which I get. At the same time, I can see obviously from your I was saying there from your point of view, it's like you've got to put things on hold and it might not even happen, which is a bit annoying.
Which it didn't happen, but I mean it wasn't a big deal. I didn't like put anything important on hold. It was more kind of just me playing the waiting game, getting excited, and then like for that entire week I was really excited. Like, oh yeah, they're gonna reach out to announce that they're reaching out this weekend, and it turns out that they actually reached out at the start of the bloody week. I was excited for no reason. But you know, is what it is. I still enjoyed the whole process of applying with my team, etc. Hopefully, I mean, I bit the bullet, did a PowerPoint application, which I feel was quite good. But you know, sadly, it wasn't good enough.
Your pitch video was really good as well.
It was a good idea. It was a good idea, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I feel like we could have done a better idea or something different. And like, I mean, question, and I don't want to know what they said, because I feel like this kind of goes under the like not saying stuff.
Okay.
But did they tell you what was good about your application and why your application got picked, or did they just say that you were picked?
No, they just said we were picked. They didn't say if it was why. Because I was actually going to ask this my question myself to them and say, listen, why wasn't what could have made our application better to being one of the 10 teams that was chosen? But I never did. I never asked it.
Yeah, probably best you don't, I guess.
And that's the thing. Because then, and don't get me wrong, it would probably been good to know what we could have done better. But at the same time, I think that we've done good enough to the point where like we got as a sub team, which was like okay, we've done semi good here. We know what we've done.
And in the end, you got subbed in, so it didn't really matter, anyways.
Yeah,
you ended up getting to play. But I do like, I don't know. I wish I knew the process, because them applications, like they all deserve to get in, but some of them are like so similar to others. So it's just like, how did you narrow that one down out of the other? Like, what was your thinking to choose that one over this one, kind of thing? But I guess we'll never know. Know.
I think it'll come down to some some sort of like uniqueness and how like unique it is compared to the rest of them.
Maybe, yeah.
But as I'm saying, we'll never know.
Yeah. Moving away from the application stage then. So obviously you get announced. Saturday comes round, 8 p.m. BST. Nerves are high. MCC Rising begins. You're on the Axolotls, Ginerous. There are 8 games to be played.
Mm-hmm.
Only 2 teams make dodgeball.
Yes.
So your team, going into this, looking at the other team, be dead honest with me. Did you, as a team, did you guys think you stood a chance? Or was it more of a case of, we think we stand a chance, but we're not fully confident? Or like, yeah, we're making dodgeball?
No, I feel like we didn't expect to get anywhere near dodgeball, to be honest with you. Okay. We didn't expect, that obviously you've got to be ambitious and say, you know what, we're going to make it.
Yeah, of course.
We're going to get there. But our intention was not to come last. Like we had our goal saying, you know what, we do not want to come last in this event.
That was my team's goal. Had we have got in.
Which I was impressed that we actually made 6 as a team.
Yeah.
Like I was happy. I think we were all happy as like me, myself, Marky, Indy, and Richard were all the 4 of us were just happy that we got 6 as a team.
Okay.
But yeah, it was our goal. We didn't expect to get the dodgeball, but if we did, it would have been unreal. Well, obviously we never got. We'll get to that stage later on. Hopefully down the years down the line.
Maybe. Right. Let's go through game then.
Okay.
Just talking about a little bit of your experience, hearing it from an MCC Rising player, someone who hasn't played an MCC before, only possibly watched it, VOD reviewing, etc., or just watched it in general. First game, Sands of Time. So I have a few notes here. I posted them on Twitter. I was taking notes of each game, and I'll give you the notes. They're not all about your team, but we're going to talk about your team, of course. So the first one, half the bloody game got locked in. LMAO, 3 teams got 0 coins. Your team, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ginerous, you were the only person to bank, right? You were the only person to not get locked in, as far as I'm aware.
From my team?
Yes.
No. So me, Marky, and Indy all banked our coins.
Oh really? You guys just didn't get a lot of coins.
we really didn't get a lot of coins.
You got
It was only
232. Oh, okay. No, you got like 150. I was looking at Cyan Coyotes and thought that was bloody you. Aquaxolo, you came 4th that game with 232 coins.
Yeah, so Richard was the only one that was in the jail that got locked in.
Okay.
The other 3, we banked it, but it was even though we were the first ones out that game mode, we thought we had done terrible. Like it was probably one of the worst games we've ever had. But don't get me wrong, to have Sands of Time's first game was criminal. But it was it was. We thought we did horrendously first game. And don't get me wrong, everyone's got that one game where they can mess up, and like they can. Okay, that was our game to mess up. That's fine. The other games we've got to do well in. But
you'd rather not mess up, kind of thing.
That's the thing. You'd rather not mess up anything. And obviously, we thought we'd done horrendously being the first ones out. And then about 10 seconds later, 12 seconds later, another team came out with us. And then out of nowhere, about 4 teams just ended up in the jail. And we were like, what the hell's happened here? Which was nuts. Because we were expecting to come last in that game mode, and we came 4th. And it was like, we got hardly any coins, but yet we came 4th. Which is mad.
You know, at the end of the day, I mean, even like just not getting many coins that I get boned doesn't really mean anything, sadly. As much as I hate to say it, like that's one of the game modes.
Yeah.
Like coins matter, but getting low coins, even if you come 4th with it, like it was cool to say, oh yeah, I'm 4th right now, but like, you know, it's not the best of game modes for that. What did you VOD review Sands of Time? It looks like a lot of people struggled with it.
So I haven't VOD reviewed my point of view from it so far.
No, sorry, did you VOD review prior to the event? Sorry, I should be more precise.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, yeah, we did. So we looked at. I got sent by Richard JoJo's Sands of Time video because she'd done the goal path. I was nominated to do the goal path, which I had no idea where the goal path was when I was doing it myself. It was just,
it's random. It's not the same thing every time.
Exactly. I just couldn't find it. I found the blue one, which that was Indy's one. Indy was nominated as being blue. I was nominated as gold. Richard was the red, and then Marky was the sandkeeper in the middle. But yeah, it was like I got sent the video, so obviously I watched the video, and I think I watched it about 4 or 5 times. Just went over the video and constantly just like look at little things like, okay, maybe the wall you can break there, and we can go through that like that way. And don't get me wrong, I'm saying it's not the same map, but like even like little things, just like obviously get it in, like drill into your head and say, right, we need to do that, and then go about it through that way. But yeah, I did watch the video. I think we all watched the video, but Marky that was his game mode that he wanted to take control of because he was the sandkeeper. He was the one calling the shots for that game that we all agreed with.
But it just didn't go to plan.
Literally. It didn't go to plan for us, and again, it didn't go to plan for most of the other teams. It was like the worst game mode for 9 or 10 teams, which is nuts. I think Orange was the only one that actually done well in that.
It was Lime.
Oh, it was Lime, sorry, yeah. Lime.
Yeah, they got 500, nearly 500 more. They got like just like 440 something more than second place.
Oh, okay, bloody hell. But yeah, even so, it's like most teams didn't do particularly great in that.
Yeah, exactly. So, then the second game was Grid Runners, and my notes here are what WTF Lime, because that game, they popped off. They didn't actually come first by lows, but they did do really good. This was once again, I mean, you did alright in Sands of Time, but this was a game where you did quite bad in. Your team came 9th, and to prove even more so that Sands of Time's points really didn't matter at all this event, that put your team in 9th overall for the event at this point. So what went wrong there? Why did that not work out as planned? Was it just that you were just simply slower, or was it just like getting confused, struggling in the moment?
No, so I think I think it was purely the fact that we just, and don't get me wrong, obviously, because there's a certain game mode you can never practice, but I think that was one game mode we just never practiced, and we've never done anything like it. Whereas like you're constantly like next room you gotta think something's different, next one's something different. Don't get me wrong, I've watched obviously a couple of POVs on it, on just like on just how to play the game. But yeah, like I think as a team we just weren't good at that because we never practice it, and it may be because we were slower in doing stuff. Like I know we got slowed down big time when we were trying to shoot the target. And
the honey, you didn't use the honey. Yeah, I remember watching that.
I didn't use the honey, and I just
screaming at my monitor, Joe, and I was like, "Use the honey! You read chat. They're telling you to use the honey. Use it." I think it was too late in the game to the point where I was like, I read chat. I was like, obviously, I was saying people were saying honey, and I was like, okay, there's actually honey blocks that'll slow me down and make my life much easier to get these targets. And then that's why obviously I think that's dropped us back quite a few places. So gave teams like a massive chance to advance forward and go forward and do the other ones ahead of us. In which they did, yeah.
I think that struggled, and I think the golf one as well. We had to hit the person to the golfing. We couldn't get to that far one, the blue one. But the other ones we did. But it was going to be me to hit Marky into the blue. But I said, listen, Marky, you hit me. I'm happy to do that bounce jump, and you hit me and go into it. And that's obviously when we got it done. But that slowed us down big time in grid runners.
I was watching the two POVs I had up with yourself and Wade Boxes on Lime's team, because they were the two teams I was supporting the most. Compared to like Lime, they were really like coordinated with it. So it's more just like, you know, which isn't any of yours' fault. It could just be like a little bit of a lack of coordination, really. On like the one where you had to do the parkour standing on the pressure plates, I know that was failed a few times just based on, you know, nerves. It happens. You get nervous, all that kind of stuff, you know. So I
think as well, like when you've never done like a game mode like that, you don't know what to expect. So like example, like they're saying the parkour one where you have to like step on the pressure plates, make open to a little bit of a block up to jump on. Our coordination for that just probably wasn't good enough. It could have been way better, but like I think we failed that about 4 or 5 times before we actually got it right. But it was just as simple as like I could have either just jumped a second earlier, or they could have waited a second longer on the pressure plate before then I could make my jump and we'd be okay and we can move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, grid runners definitely wasn't grid runners and summertime weren't our strongest two to start with.
Well, so I want this to be known, by the way. Okay. In the first 4 games. The first 4 games that were played, Lime Llamas came first in 3 of them. The only game they didn't come first in was Meltdown, and this was when your team popped off, moving you into 4th overall in the entire event. Aquaxolotls came first in this, and my notes are, I love Meltdown. Meltdown is so cool. I want to play Meltdown because my favourite games. I love bows. Ginerous, Aqua, and Blue cook. This performance, by the way, it was the first time that coins weren't given equally across teams because it's the first individual game. This put you in 12 in division.
Which was nuts.
Meltdown, you cooked. And earlier you mentioned how you're really good with bows and all this kind of stuff. Talk to me about Meltdown.
That was literally the game, I was saying, that I completely just popped off at. Like, for some reason, like the first round, we don't talk about the first round in Meltdown, that was like...
Yeah, but that's because you got a little bit confused, you died to the lava, but that doesn't mean you still came first in the event. So you ignored the first round, jump straight into the second.
Second round, so once I got my head around the first round and knew what I was doing, I was like, right, this is where I'm really like, obviously I got nominated to be the leader in this, and I was like, this is my game now, I'm taking charge of this.
You're
not going to do what other teams are doing, you're going to listen to me and what's going to happen. So it's like, I took charge in that, but I think what's helped me in this, I'll talk more about Meltdown and round 2 in a second, but I think what's helped me in this is more that I've played FPS games, and I know that like, the location of the map and taking advantage of where like the best places is absolutely key in this.
Yeah.
So obviously, we ignored looking around the first room. So wherever you spawn, ignore the first room. We went straight to that middle coin room, like whichever one was closest to you, and you want to lock that room down. So we did that. The second round, the first team we faced was Pink Parrots, and I think they were doing quite well as well in the whole in the whole event so far. They were like mid table.
At this point, they were 4th.
So we came up against them, and I managed to get myself a triple kill with 3 of them, and it was just I think it was Akko that was left, or I think I'll probably butcher your name, but yeah, he was the last one.
Akko's how you say it, yeah.
Yeah, he was the last one for their team, and I was like, I could get an AC and clean sweep them up, because I didn't focus on it. I should have focused on the generators. I didn't. Indy was focused on the generators and getting them destroyed. But yeah, so I got one originally first, and then I think Gracie was literally placing the heater down about to shoot me, but I got a shot off on her before she could even shoot me. And then the other person was hidden behind the quarter pillar, so I shot them. But because their hitbox was slightly out, I could get them. But then Akko was the last one. I actually watched his POV after, and I didn't realise he'd ran away from that section where his teammates was. And he came back later on, and it was a 1v1 versus me and him. There was 2 moments where he could have killed me and got me frozen, and I was so lucky not to get killed. But yeah, so I ran around the pillar. I got Gracie again because she came unfrozen, and I got Akko in the last bit there, and then we traded off. Obviously, I got him and he got me. But by that point, the whole of pink was melted, and they were eliminated. So me and Indy obviously were frozen. Richard and then Marky, we both they put their melt he's down to get us back, and that's when I said, all right, now we've got to head to middle. Like, because obviously at this point, obviously the alarm's going off, telling people to move. I said, you know what, like we've got the coins in the middle in that first coin room. Let's go to the middle and lock that down. And on the way to middle, we actually came across Cyan, which Cyan's a strong team.
Yeah, they came second.
Yeah, so it's like we were obviously up against a fight here.
Second in this game mode, I mean, sorry, just to be precise.
Indy got 2 kills when we were facing them first off. He got 2 of them. They, for some reason, I don't know if the heat was on cool or anything, but they didn't place the heater down. And then obviously I got the third one, and there was 1 left, and he was like in between 2 pillars trying to hide behind their teammates. But then obviously that's when I was like, you know what, in my head, I've got to play aggressive here, and I can't let these out of this situation. So obviously played aggressive, got a last kill, and that's when obviously Cyan got eliminated. Because we got rid of, I think, the heat that he placed down last for their team. So we got rid of that. And then we went to middle, and this was obviously, I said in my point of view, it was a 1 versus 1. It wasn't. It was a 1 versus 1 versus 1. There was 3 teams left. I just totally forgot about that. There was 3 teams. There was yellow, blue, and me, and our aqua team. And this was a point where I could have wiped out the whole of blue. And it just in my head, I just forgot to get rid of the heaters. I was so focused on players and not heaters. Yeah. But yeah, we were on the opposite side. Blue and yellow were actually fighting each other on the other side, which we were just shooting the arrows from across the whole middle to try and get them. And I played very, very aggressive in this part, so I actually left my team and went off on my own, which is probably a bad idea, but it probably made for one of the better clips. It was me going off, being that aggressive. Because there was at one point where I was on the ledge, seeing yellow in the distance. I was trying to fire a few shots, and behind the stone wall was blue team, and I knew they were behind it because some arrows were flying from there. So I'd walked around up the stairs, and I seen 2 of blue were already frozen, but they had heaters next to them already. I didn't know how long they were going to be, so I managed to get Tanisha, and there was 1 other on blue team I managed to get later on. But by the time I hit the second person, the first person who was next to Tanisha got unfrozen. And then obviously at that point it was like a 1 versus 2. But in my head, I thought I should have challenged this, and I didn't. I did challenge it, but I shouldn't have. I should have gone round and basically done a loop on myself and restart that whole scenario. But at that point, I could have, if I had gotten rid of the heaters, I would have wiped out the whole of the blue team on my own, which would have been insane. But that never happened in the second round. But yeah, so the second round, I think blue won it. But I think we could have won that if I played a bit more smarter.
Yeah, but even you still did really, really good.
Well, Indy, when I was fighting blue, Indy was dead sneaky. He actually went into the middle and grabbed all the coins in the middle.
Which is good, yeah. That's what but technically you did win that round.
So we technically, we didn't come first that round, but we did in a sense that, like...
It doesn't matter, you saw more coins.
I was distracting blue. Yellow was being fired on by Marky and Richard. And then Indy was starting to go into the middle and just gathering coins, because there's no other coins you can gather then. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Just because you didn't win and be the last team standing, all that matters is coins in the event. And you got the coins. You came first in coins, pushed you up the fourth in div. And then the third round you also did pretty well in as well. Got some really cool clips. Pretty much cooked.
So third round was... Who did we get third round? I think we got a whole team out. We got a whole team out, I know that. And we came up against blue. I got a triple kill on blue again. But then I think... I don't know who it was. It might have been... God. One of the blues pushed, and he froze 3 of us. And then Marky was the last one. But I think Indy traded off with the last blue. And then... as we were obviously all frozen, we just watched obviously the blue team just melt to the ground. Obviously they were eliminated. I think one of the other teams was fighting them. Yeah. So Marky got us back all the keys that he had. And then obviously that's where I was calling the shot, saying like, no, we're not going that way. Follow my lead. Let's go this way. We're going to middle, and we locked it down. And this is where we came across Cyan and Lime. So I got a double kill on Cyan, and then I went under the bridge, had another shot at Cyan to freeze into one of the teammates. And this is where it was silly of me to do. Was I went up the stairs, and for some reason I don't know why I decided to try and do it. Was to try and shoot yellow. But there's not yellow, sorry, green. But they had the full team like in ice, but they had a heater behind the ice, and I didn't realise that. Obviously, I got frozen, and by the time I was frozen, all of them came unfrozen. But I should have just held my ground back where I was before, because that was the only way into middle. And I should have, if we had locked that off, Cyan would have been eliminated, and Line would have probably been eliminated along with it, and we'd have still been in. Which I think actually that Line did win that round. To be fair as well, it was your Line would be one or the other, but one of them won that round either way. And I should have played a bit more smarter instead of being so aggressive at that point. But at the end of the day, like Meltdown was the game that we had popped off on, and we had done really, really well, managed to get first place. And obviously, I got first individual on that game mode itself, which was even crazier to think of it.
Yeah, I mean, cooked. Ginerous, you cooked. That's Indiv as well, like you said. The entire team just did really, really well there.
That was our game. That was like, we were happy with that. Like, it was like, we were happy that we got one game that's really good under our belt.
But then we move into Ace Race. Meltdown and Ace Race are the two games I wanted to see and the two games I really want to play, and both of them got played back to back. You did well in Ace Race again to push you up to 9th in Div. However, your team sadly didn't do as well as you, Ginerous, and you placed 6th in Div. Also, sorry, your team placed 6th for that game, bringing you to 5th overall in the event. Still pretty close. Still a fight for second at this point, with Lime Llamas looking like they're going to come first at this point in the event anyways. My notes for Ace Race were, what a map, by the way. I love that map.
That's insane.
So, being a speedrunner, how I see it anyways with myself is like, I'm quite good at the racing game modes. I always pick up on the fastest routes just from being quite good at speedrunning. That's how I see it, because I'm not a speedrunner, but from doing speedrunning. So what about you? How did you find? You had a few like mares every now and then. You had a few mess ups, which was completely fine. And I was watching as I was screaming at my screen again, do this, go there. But like, I was like, why am I screaming at my screen? You can't hear. Screaming at my stream. It's a screen that you can't hear. But yeah, go on. Talk about Ace Race.
So, as I said before, Ace Race obviously was... So I finished 7th overall, which I was actually quite happy with, to be fair. And I know I could have finished about maybe absolute push 4th, maybe even 5th.
You could have got 4th, yeah.
So, like, Ace Race, obviously, we had practiced it on the practice server. We practiced that a lot as a 4 of us. So, obviously, whenever we had time to stream or had time to jump on, we would jump on and do it. So, we had practice, but we didn't have the same practice as that map. It was like I practiced, obviously, all like the jumps and different, like, trident sections you could do. So, we had a good go at that. But the actual Ace Race itself, so I actually messed up at the very, very start, which was a bit of a bummer, which put me down. But the first lap doesn't really matter because everyone's all over the show first lap. That's like, you could be first in the first like 2 jumps, but 30 from like the second or like the third or 4th jump. Like
I reckon I would have cooked Ace Race. I reckon I would have cooked it like crazy.
You would have 100% done it easy. But yeah, it was good. Like the first lap, I was basically still just trying to get my head around. So I'd watched his video on it, so I'd watched him do it. And he'd done that map, and I was like, you know what, okay, so I just remember that map in my head, I've got to go here. The first lap, I actually missed the water section first. I was like, because I hit a leap and I lost momentum in the Dolphins crease to put me back a few places. But then I gained it back later on with the trident jumps, the earlier trident jumps later on, to where you had to like fly underneath the dude's legs in the middle section.
Yeah.
So I made it back there, like with like obviously, because obviously with people that don't know, obviously with an electric, you fly down, you gain more speed than just glide down.
I'm not sure if it's the same on Bedrock.
Yeah, so so I gained a few places on that. But yeah, first lap I was like semi-okay. Second lap I killed it on, like I done really well in the second lap, I think. Don't get me wrong, as I was saying, there was a few things that I could have done better. Like there was a few jumps that I could have done much better, and there's a few like trident throws that I could have done way better. But obviously, that you always look back at them and say, you know what, I could have done better at that, I could have done better at that. But at the heat of the moment, I was like, there was some point where I was panicking in my head, I was like, I'm going to lose loads of places here because I've missed that trident jump and so on. Which for that race, and I did say at the start of the to my teammates, I said, listen, at this race you shouldn't panic. So you start panicking, you fall behind big time. You keep your cool and just take your time, you'll do something like semi-okay. Yeah. So the third lap, I think I was 9th at one point in the third lap, and I was like, I need to actually gain a few positions here. So I think I started the third lap as 12th. I was like, I can gain positions here, and I can do better. So then I did, and obviously I think a few people messed up ahead of me, and obviously I just gained a bit of time on myself, and that helped big time. But I think there was one point where I nailed it perfectly, which was the last trident throw, when you go up to like the bubble elevator and before you get to like the lily pads. And I went up it and I threw my trident and I landed on the second bounce pad instead of the first one on the bottom. And obviously then you can go up to the third one and do your final like little bit of a fly going around the corners of the rock, which I think I nailed that perfectly. So I gained time on that. And then obviously I had a bit of like a leeway. So if I messed up once, I had a bit of time to recover myself before then the next person behind me would catch up. But yeah, overall I was quite happy finishing 7th in Ace Race. But I was just saying, my teammates finished like 16th, 27th and 32nd or 34th, something like that around there, which I know obviously, even nowadays, they said to me, like, listen, I'd really love to go and redo that, because I know I could do so much better, which I totally get.
I think it was on the second lap, he was right at the finish line, and you was in 4th, and you dropped to like 12th. That's what you said, so it's just like, Ginerous, what are you doing?
Like, if I didn't mess that up, I could have done really well, I could have got a higher placement.
But shit happens, you had fun, and that's all that matters, right?
Absolutely.
So then, we move into a game which I'm a be real, I don't think you're going to have much to talk about, which is survival
we don't talk
game.
about this.
So, but I mean, of course, I want to touch on it to say how you guys did. Despite obviously not doing amazing, you came 9th with 1,000 points, just 80 short of green. So it wasn't too bad. This, however, did move you down to 6th in the rankings overall, and I think this was where Aqua Axolotls were sadly no longer in the running for first and stuff for Dodgeball anyways. But you know, anything can happen, we never know. This also put you back down to 12th in div, which is still solid, which is still really good. You got a kill on Gracie early on, and as far as I'm aware, that is the only kill that your team got, right?
I think so.
So there's not really much to say about survival games. I don't think there's much to talk about because unless you have something, but...
No, I mean, I was the only PvP player on our team. I mean, you could maybe class Indy as a PvP player as well, but I was mainly the strong point for PvP for our team. The other two, Richard and Marky, aren't PvP based. So it's like, this was one game that we hoped actually never came up, to be fair, but it's at the end of the day, it's a choice of obviously the chickens in the middle that choose what you obviously do, and we kind of have to try and make the best do. I think what we should have done was try to maybe stay alive a little bit longer, but we were trying to be for some reason too aggressive, and we should have just trying to let other teams fight. We stick back and we try and either third party other teams or just let them fight and just try and get a placement of higher as a team. But as I say, there's not really too much on survival games that you can talk about because we didn't do that well. At least we didn't finish last in it.
Yeah.
We came 9th in it.
And that was the only game where you looked to come last in one of the game modes. And since you didn't come last in that, you didn't place last in any of the game modes. So that's also a big achievement. Not last.
Yeah.
So then we move on to Rocket Spleef Rush. A game that you did mid-table on. Your team got 5th overall.
Yeah.
This put you up to 11th in div. So not a crazy jump, but still up one. And it was actually really close at this point. 10th was only 2 more coins than you. And 12th was only 5 coins less than you. And they were both on blue team. So this also moved you still into 6th. I believe you stayed in 6th here. However, you did get closer to 5th. At this point, Lime Llamas is in 4th, Pink Paris is in 3rd, Blue Barret's in 2nd, and Sanko's in 1st. But they're all Lime Llamas in 4th is 4k points ahead of Yellow Yaks in 5th. I also forgot to give my notes for survival games, and it was Pink is the MCCR2 equivalent of Cyan and MCCR1. If you know, you know. And then my notes for Rocket Spleef Rush is Blue and Cyan sky rushing to 1st and 2nd. Just completely knocking Pink and Lime off the podium here, moving into 1st and 2nd, which was crazy. Anything to say about Rocket Spleef Rush? I'm gonna be real for this one. I kind of zoned out a little bit. I think I always kind of zone out with Rocket Spleef Rush. You're gonna kind of have to tell me if there's anything here.
So we had practiced this literally about 10 minutes before we joined the actual event, before anything started. So we had that practice here, all 4 of us had a little practice of this. We had a feeling something like this would pop up. And the first round, because obviously there's 3 rounds, the first round I came 3rd in it out of the 40. So I was quite happy with that. I was happy that I've got 3rd in the first round. And then the second and third round were very similar, where I came I think it was between 7 to 11th around there somewhere. I don't remember the exact position, but I knew it was in the top half at least. And what I messed up on was before you lose that the feather where you can go up a little bit more, you get one use of it. Where I did that, but I bashed my head on when I obviously went up and I bashed my head on someone and it put me straight back down again. And at this point there was no blocks below me, so I was just literally gliding to my death, and I was like, I would have done so much better. If I had jumped up and actually made it and been in the open air, I would have probably actually made a better position wise for myself and for the team.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rocket Spleef was like a mech game. Or it was we'd done semi okay, but we know we could have done better, but we weren't the worst.
It was an alright one. A mediocre mid-table. He came 5th.
Yeah.
We then move into at this point I joined a voice call with my friends. Everyone in the call was rooting for Lime Llamas, including myself, rooting for Lime Llamas. But a part of me obviously is still rooting for an Aqua Axolotl's comeback. Alright lads, if they get build mark, they can stand a chance to dodgeball. They just need build mark. Build mark comes through. You guys come 4th with nearly 2,000 coins less than Cyan, who came 1st. Still did really good. However, Pink, Lime, and Cyan, who were all going for dodgeball, all finished above you, sadly.
Yeah.
This was a team-based game, meaning it moved you down to 12th in coins. What happened? You guys are meant to be, well, as far as I'm aware, you're meant to be a good builder, and I think you are a good builder. You did also move into 5th overall on this one, so that's pretty cool. But what happened? Where was the lack of coins from? Because I mean, when we played MCBC as a team, me, me, you, and Dandar, we popped. We did really well. I think we got like the first best score in the
But yeah,
entire
so
event.
between the three of us, between obviously myself, you, and Danda, for that we obviously saying we got the best score. But obviously, obviously yourself, and obviously from others know from MCBC, is obviously I'm basically known for being the king of build arena.
Yeah.
So I've beaten my score 3 times in a row constantly, and I've got a record for all three of them for the three highest.
Yeah.
So when we were doing Build Mart, obviously I took leadership. Obviously, I was like, because obviously we got told by Jojo at the start, listen, one person kind of needs to be that manager, and you're going to sit in the middle build and tell people what they need and so on. I'm going to take the full responsibility of this myself. I was too focused on what the middle build was and not what the other two were, because I kind of just let them do their own build. So I kind of let Marky do his, they focus on them. And Richard was obviously he was quite happy to be that floater and just gathering blocks. So when I was missing a block, I was missing like I think the pink concrete when I was doing the rainbow, the gold one.
Yeah.
I was missing that with Lilith and Rich. I needed to go and get the pink for me. He had done that. He got the pink for me. I think we actually finished third on the rainbow, which actually wasn't too bad. I was quite happy with that. But it was but yeah, I don't think we got the. I didn't catch up in my head. I don't think I realised, because I've been so used to doing the MCBC one where like it's like a hall and you just basically just go try either down or you run into the rooms to the side.
Yeah.
This one you basically had to go to the middle of the fan and fly up and go to the islands and fly through them, which I think that's what maybe slowed it down slightly. But only slightly though. It wasn't too much. But I think because
It's a bit harder,
because I've never played that map, like I've never known where like where the iron blocks are, where the stone is, where the moss is, where the flowers are, whatever it is.
Could have VOD reviewed it.
Do you know what? It's probably one of the only things I actually didn't VOD review, because I kind of already had previous knowledge of like this kind of stuff before. But I should have probably VOD reviews, which maybe would have helped a little bit. But yeah, I think I got as well that middle build in the last one. It was like the last 3 seconds I managed to the whole build mart. I managed to get that middle build, which probably got us a few extra coins, which finishes fourth.
Yeah, it placed you above blue because of that last build. Yep.
Yeah, so I think that will help big time. But yeah, I think if it was more management, we could have probably done better. But yeah, Cyan popped up in that, which was fair play to them. They wanted that big time.
Yeah. And then sadly we moved into the final game, which was an MCC Island game, and this put you down to 16th in div, which was still amazing out of 40 players, by the way. Battle box, I have a bone to pick with you, Jin. I have a bone to pick with you.
Okie dokie.
So actually, I forgot to say my notes again. So my notes for Build Mart were why are the scores so close? And my second notes for Battle Box, and my notes for Battle Box, are that 9th round, Lime first pink was rating in the stars. What the fuck? And I'll explain to you why in a second.
I've seen that as well. Yeah.
Oh, you've seen it? Okay, well
I've seen it.
So at this point, Cyan are out of the Aqua out of the running. Sorry, Aqua aren't making dodgeball. There's no way.
Yeah.
Even if they flawless the event, won't make it. Sadly. Lime, please. Okay. Nothing against Pink. Absolutely amazing creators. Lovely people. Don't want them to make dodgeball over Lime. Aqua has lost every single round. Okay, that's fine. Lime's gonna come up against them. Easy. Aqua beats Lime. Ginerous. You guys beat Lime. Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm angry now. But anyways, so before you get into talking about you, sorry, I'll give the viewers a rundown. Essentially, for the viewers who aren't aware of what's happened, in the 9th round, Pink and Lime, so before going into this game, Lime were a solid 600 points ahead of Pink. Going into this final round, Pink are ahead by about 1,000 coins, or something like that, okay? They're going into Dodgeball. Lime first Pink, Wade Box, the absolute madman, don't know why he decided to do it, wall rushes Pink. Pink placed first in that game mode, Lime placed second, but Lime only lose by about 390 coins, meaning that they made Dodgeball by a mere 201 coins. All Pink needed, I think, was like 2 kills or something. Or if Wade Box just didn't wall rush and Pink won, Pink would have made Dodgeball. But Lime made Dodgeball, which was crazy. We were in the call, we were screaming, we were shouting, cheering. Oh my god, Lime. And I know, sorry, this is your podcast, and I don't mean to say, like, big up there.
No, mate, go for it.
But your team overall placed 8th in Battle Box. I think at this point, you guys kind of knew, screw it, we'll just have a bit of fun with this last game mode. Enjoy it a little bit. So yeah, talk to us about Battle Box if you have anything. Once again, PvP game, so...
Yeah, it wasn't. Don't get me wrong, we had a few practice games, obviously, as a team, obviously on the island itself, like MCCI, but it was and even on the practice, we had a few practice goes. But yeah, as I say, our team is not a PvP team. We're not like a player versus player. We're quite happy to sit back with bows and try and shoot them from there. But at the same time, like I was this is just from my point of view, is I was the only aggressive one, trying to be aggressive against the faces because I knew that's what you had to do in that game mode. But I don't think our team actually kind of knew that, like, because they were just too busy focused on trying to get the kills, where I was just saying wall rushing was the thing. I know it's not everyone's favourite to go and wall rush and just get the middle.
And that's only on MCC Island. In like MCC and MCC Rising,
concrete,
it's completely understand. No, I mean, sorry, not the wall rushing. I'm saying like people only get annoyed on MCC Island, but when it comes to MCC, MCC Rising, people are completely fine with it.
Yeah, it's like that's
a legit
how
strat.
you run around.
It's a legit strat.
That's the thing. It is 100%. It is. You got to go in there, get that win. But yeah, it's one of our game modes. We actually didn't get the hang of it until the last 3 rounds, and we were like, then the last 3 rounds we won back to back to back. And like, if we had done that earlier on, we might have actually done like pretty well in that. But as I was saying before, it wouldn't have made any difference if we were going to dodge. But we need to like, we'd be better at like, say for example, survival games, or doing better at grid runners or something like that. Like those would have probably pushed us up a little bit more. But even like by saying battle box was probably not our strongest point. We were hoping for bingo actually.
It should have been bingo, but I guess just the chickens have their own minds.
I know, because obviously I don't know if you know this, obviously, because obviously people out there as well. Obviously, I used to be a world record holder for bingo for the fastest time of a Blackout 25.
Jeez, okay, I never knew that.
So that's why like we wanted to have bingo as being one of our things, because like obviously I've had very good experience playing bingo before. Richard's good playing bingo before. I know it's different on a MCC, like I know it's completely different to a Blackout 25. Like obviously you can get a card, and obviously 5 people can get the same item, but whoever gets it first gets more coins, and then second gets a bit less, and so on and so forth.
But you still would have cooked.
But I think we would have done really well in bingo. But yeah, Battle Box was probably wasn't our game, because we were just, I said, not PvE players. If maybe had a PvP team, we might have done better on it. But at the end, it wasn't our game. It was just like an extra. And like saying towards the end, you realise we weren't getting. It was like, we'll just do it. We'll have a bit of fun. Why not?
Fair enough. And then ended up placing 6 overall in the event, not last. Let's go.
Not last. Our achievement was not to come last, and we didn't come last, so we were all happy with that.
Bro, 4th had 5,000 more coins than 5th. That really just sums up this event, man. That just sums up this event.
There was like 4 teams that just popped off, like big time top 4.
But then we move into Dodgeball. I know, obviously, you weren't in this. My notes for Dodgeball were, I fucking love Lime Llama's actual underdog story. Cyan came first in the last MCC Rising, and ended up losing. They came first again, and ended up losing. So, any takes on Dodgeball? I saw you were rooting for Cyan Coyotes, or were you had like the head thing for them?
No, I actually wasn't. I had no merchandise on actually.
You didn't? Oh, my bad. I thought I saw you did.
I didn't realise it was actually merchandise tier until you just mentioned it on, I think, a few other videos as well I watched. But yeah, I was just there, kind of spectating, just watching, but I was kind of rooting for Lion over Cyan, because I think most people I was looking around at the other spectators that were watching, were all rooting for Lion, so I was like, do you know what, I'll kind of just join them and help support them, because everyone was going for it. But yeah, I was watching, like I was saying, like Wade's POV of like the reaction to obviously him winning, like Nominals and Nomad's reaction and all that, and it was like, it was nut. Like that obviously Cyan won the first round. I was like, oh god, okay, Lion's on the back foot here. I went to 1-1. I was like, oh, this made more intense.
Lime won the first round and Cyan won the second one.
You sure? I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah, because no, maybe. I don't know. I predicted Lime 3-0, but I was wrong. So maybe you're right. Sorry, you were there. You watched it firsthand. I don't know why I'm trying to correct you. So you're probably right. I mean, either way, it was both teams won the first and second round, like, separately.
Yeah. So it just went to 1-1. I was like, okay, this game's actually made it so much more interesting now. And obviously then Lion got the next round. I was like, this could be it. If Lion, if they can get maybe 1 or 2 kills in that final round for them, this is going to be game. Because obviously it's going to be a 4v2, it's going to be tough. And then they got the 2 kills, and I was like, oh my god, it's actually happening. This is happening. And then that's when obviously they got the final 2 kills, the 2 shots back to back, obviously getting 1, and the next shot was getting the other person. And I popped obviously the Lion taking the crown. I think everyone just went ballistic, and it was nuts. Don't get me wrong, I feel dead sorry and gutted for Cyan, because they obviously as well probably wanted to win it. But obviously, and I know that feeling as well from playing MCBC and coming second place, like you've just almost got the crown but you didn't quite get it. But it's
you can still be happy for the team though.
You can still be happy for the team that you made second place. That's like ridiculously hard as well, especially with like the other teams that were trying to get into the event
as well. Like they won the entire event.
There was 8 other teams trying to get into your position, so it was like that's very, very good. But yeah, overall, overall, the whole event was just insane, just to be a part of it.
And then the end of it, I remember watching your outro. At this point, I'd kind of tone you down a little bit because I was in the call when we was talking about Lime Llama winning.
Yeah.
You know, you ended up doing your little thing. Did you end up joining the winning team's call and congratulating them? Or no?
Yeah, so after I rated out, and then I think Avondale put a message out saying obviously he went in and obviously congratulated Line first, and obviously that's like his thing that he does to Line anyway. And then he put us all into a call with them all, and obviously everyone came in, and obviously we were chatting for I reckon about 2-3 hours after this of just like the whole event and like congratulating them, and obviously and then just saying like different moments throughout the whole event that were like highlights and like people pulling it up on. And I think most people actually in that call were like, why the hell was Santa Tan first game? Like why? And I know one of the Blues actually came up with a theory. I don't know who it was. One came up with a theory saying
on Twitter, I believe, yeah.
Was the coin multiplier makes a difference on how much sand you get inside of it.
I don't think it does. I think people just missed a lot of sand, like because obviously no sands of time experience. A lot of people just like missed out on sand. I remember watching POVs. I watched back a few, and a lot of people just ran past sand, or just didn't know where to look. They just hadn't VOD reviewed hard enough.
Yeah, I mean, most of the sand, I think there was one or two that I completely missed, and when I look back at my own PV, I was like, okay, I should have actually grabbed them. But in the heat of the moment, I think I was saying most people just completely missed it. But yeah, going back to the Discord call, yeah, we were all in there for 2-3 hours, just talking purely about the whole event. And like even like at this moment now, like in this obviously this recording was just the chat's like still popping off like in the Discord, so people are just still talking, and it's like I think we're all going to stay a lot more closer now, even after the event. I know most of us had no idea who each other were, but now because we've done an event with each other, we're all going to try and get to know each other more and be more close together and play with each other more and so on.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's pretty sick. So after this now, Jin, what's going to happen going forward? What's the future of Ginerous following MCC Rising?
So, plan of action on my side was I'm going to put out a lot more content. That's my goal. I want to put out more content, more videos. And obviously, I know it's at the start of the year. Like I did a video at the start of the year. And I think maybe people do this where they want to have a goal for the whole year and achieve what they want to do. Which I know I've achieved hardly anything of that goal that I wanted to. So I want to try and like do kind of somewhat make it up. So put more content out. I definitely want to do more collab stuff. Like I'll go to like to yourself with other people and do more content based stuff with them. Because obviously, even like I was saying, even if you do it like just like another person, some of the viewers are going to see you and I was then going to check you out and vice versa and so on. And just like it's a good way to grow. But yeah, I want to kind of grow, I say, my YouTube, my Twitch, and other things like that. And it's but yeah, I want to essentially just grow, make myself bigger, and a bit more known by people.
Fair enough. Yeah. And then sadly, Ginerous,
yes,
that brings the end of the InsideMC podcast. I mean, the Twitter questions I pretty much answered or asked and were answered throughout the podcast. So sadly, no Twitter questions today. But this has been a great podcast, Ginerous. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. And again, I'm sorry if I bored anyone just like with like life stories and stuff that just it just came up with the heat of the moment to be talking.
Completely fine. I asked, you answered. It makes a great podcast. I like the longer ones. I've gotten so used to editing them now that I do enjoy it. I don't mind the longer ones anymore, so it's completely fine. I just didn't want to. I just didn't want because I'm advertising the podcast as an MCC Rising one. I didn't want to go too much into depth of asking you because it had already been about 25 minutes before we moved into MCC. But then I mean, like I said, in the future, maybe a year down the line or whatever, I don't want to bring guests on too quickly together. So maybe something down the line, something might happen. I might bring you on again. We can talk about more stuff then, Jin, can't we?
100%, mate. And obviously after this now, obviously, Orbit's by the way, he's never told me to say this often, but make sure you go and follow everything he's doing, his podcast stuff, and obviously anyone obviously that is listening to this, go and give him a follow and whatever you're listening from, you're listening to, or whatever it is, just keep in touch with this podcast. Definitely worth it.
Oh, thank you. Well,
I'll since that he did not tell me to say that. I just thought that was kind of my heart. That's with him.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I actually normally give the outro for you to promote yourself. Where can we find you? What's your name on all your socials? Twitter, YouTube. If you have an Instagram, Twitch, whatever. Go ahead. This is all yours. All your socials.
Okie dokie. Oh God, right. I see if I can try and remember off the top of my head. So YouTube is Ginerous. You search up Ginerous on YouTube. I'll pop up. Twitch is Ginerous22. I hope you're going to try and get that changed eventually to just a Ginerous on its own, but for now it is just Ginerous22. Twitter is at GGMC 20, I believe. That's my old name, you know that. But I'm going to try and eventually get that changed just to Ginerous on its own as well. But yeah, Ginerous GGMC 20 on Twitter. Instagram is Ginerous, I believe, just on its own, and TikTok is Ginerous1 on TikTok.
There you
That's
go.
all my socials that I've got.
And that is how you find Ginerous whenever you want to look for him. Well, Ginerous, thank you so much. This has been great talking about the MCC Rising experience, and I'm so
Thank
glad
you
you
for
got
having
in. You deserved it so much. Your team deserved it
me.
so much.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you guys had such a great time. So I remember saying it to you as well. As much as you might want to win, make sure you have fun. And I knew you was going to do that anyways, but it's always just nice to hear it as well. Someone said just as a quick little reminder. That's what you did. You made sure you had fun, and fun you had.
I did, mate. I had a blast, absolutely. And I had a blast on this as well, mate. Thank you.
No worries. Well, this has been the Inside MC podcast. Yet another guest interviewed. Make sure to tune in next Friday for a brand new guest, and then the Wednesday after that for a general podcast, and then the Friday after that for another guest. I mean, oh god, it's gonna get quite crazy. You guys are really getting spoiled. But thank you for watching. Stay safe. Don't need too much bread. And pieces.